We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. One of the most common frustrations that I hear when I am talking with people who are on the backside of a relationship with a narcissist, they'll say something to the effect of, "I didn't see this coming, at least not right up front." Many times, narcissists can come off as halfway decent people, or nice, or pleasant, or friendly, or coordinated, only for you to find out later on it was all a ruse. Now, one of the things that I like to do as I'm talking with you about understanding the nature of narcissism is I want us to go beyond what the textbook tells us. The textbook says that these are people that have a real sense of entitlement. They have a high need for control, a low empathy. They have a real attitude of superiority. They tend to be manipulative. Those are things that you're going to see when you read psychology textbooks, which it's all very accurate, by the way. But beyond that, I want us to pick up on what I call off-label identifiers of narcissism. Things that you can watch for with that person that says, hey, wait a minute, something's going on here that isn't mainstream, it's not right. And the more you're able to have an understanding and an acknowledgement of these off-label indicators, then the more you're going to be able to make plans that are going to lead you away from their snares and manipulations, and so that you can move on with a much healthier way of life. So I'm going to run through 12 different off-label identifiers of narcissism. And as I go through them, I want you to kind of have that little checklist in your mind relative to the persons in your life that might fit into the category of narcissism. Now, the first thing we want to look at is, number one, narcissists have great difficulty finding agreement with you. One of the most healthy, and by the way, this is research-based, one of the most healthy characteristics that a person can have is knowing how to be agreeable. You and I can actually disagree with one another, but we can do so agreeably. For example, if I say, here's what I'm thinking, and you're over there thinking, well, that's quite different from where I'm coming from. What we can do is we can say, okay, let's put our heads together. I want to find out how you came to your perspective, and you want to do the same in reverse. We can still be agreeable even in the midst of disagreements. Narcissists, they have a great deal of difficulty thinking that's the way I want to do things. They can be very disagreeable just right off the bat, and they tend not to back down from that. Now, that leads to number two, and that is narcissists are not good team players. They have such a strong need to be in control that they have a real hard time acquiescing, pulling back and saying, we all have a role in whatever it is we have going on. I want you to do your thing. I'm going to do my thing, and let's see if we can blend and harmonize well. Harmony's not in their mindset. They easily second guess other individuals, and more importantly, they tend to want to superimpose their mannerisms. It's like, well, yeah, there's a team here. I'm the captain of the team, and you're supposed to be compliant. That's the way it works, as opposed to thinking we're all in this together. That mindset does not exist. A third off-label identifier of narcissism is a general lack of respect for your boundaries. And when we use that word boundaries means that you have a good definition of who you are, what you prioritize, and how you manage your life. And each one of us has certain things that are going to come to the forefront that we want to emphasize in how we manage our life. When you're engaging with the narcissist, they're naturally going to ask questions like, why would you do that? No, that's not right. Or I don't know where you came up with an idea such as that. And rather than respecting the fact that you think a bit differently, it's like they're going to step all over your boundaries. If something's important to you, but it's not important to them, it's like, sorry, not going to cooperate with you. Or they can sabotage and things of that nature. Your definition of you means little to them. A fourth off-label identifier of narcissism is they are very hungry for compliments and validation. Now, they're not necessarily going to say, hey, give me a compliment, but they are going to try to draw attention to them. Hey, did you notice that when such and such happened, it came out pretty good, didn't it? I handled myself real well. They really want people to say, at a girl or at a boy, you did super. Now, all of us have that to some extent, but with a narcissist, their attitude of entitlement is so strong that they have to have somebody to prop them up on an ongoing kind of basis, and that's where you come in. You're supposed to just tell them left and right, here's how wonderful you really are. They just have to have it. Now, number 5, this may be a little bit of a counterintuitive kind of thought for you. Narcissists can have idealistic thinking. Now, they can come off very critical and negative, even pessimistic, griping and complaining about who knows what. But that griping and complaining is set up by an idealistic notion about how things ought to be. And narcissists have this dreamy notion about how the world is supposed to unfold, how you're supposed to cater to them. And as long as their ideals are being met, then they can kind of have some smooth sailing, get along okay with you. But the fact that you don't live up to their idealistic notions, you should be this and you ought to be that, then that's when they start going negative. They have a hidden idealism that sets up the criticism that they're more commonly known for. A 6th indicator off-label of narcissism is friendships and social connections remain highly superficial. You are a transaction with a narcissist. Now, it may be that you've known this person for quite some time, but one of the indicators of a healthy friendship is the ability to have vulnerability with one another. You open up and you say, here's who I am. And as you get to know one another, your pluses and minuses, your highs and lows, your hurts and your special moments are all out there. Narcissists, it's like, no, friendship to me means that I'm going to get you to do some things that help my world go well. That's as far as I want to go. And I've had many people in the aftermath of a relationship with a narcissist that will say, that person never was very forthcoming about who they were. It's like, right, vulnerability, which is a hallmark of a good friendship, scares a narcissist to death. They can't do it. Number 7, and this won't come as too much of a surprise, narcissists have a history of broken relationships, and it's almost always the other person's fault. I say almost because you're not supposed to say always, but it's always the other person's fault. They can't sustain close and helpful kind of relationships for a long period of time because those kind of relationships require a give and take, and as we're mentioning, that's just something that's not in their criteria. They just can't do that. Number 8, and I'm going to be willing to bet that you've run across this multiple times. Rules that apply to you don't apply to them. Now, let me give you a simple illustration. Let's say in a family situation, the narcissist may think, you spend way too much money on yourself. And they go buy a new pair of shoes. They go buy, this activity that spend a whole lot of money on themselves. It's like, well, you're not supposed to spend money, but I can. Or you need to be punctual when in fact they're constantly tardy. Or you need to reveal what your plans are and where you're going. Of course, I don't tell you where I'm going. The rules that we apply to you don't apply to that narcissist, you see, because, well, in the narcissist's mind, it's like, well, I'm special. I can do things different because, well, this is me. Number 9, deep conversations with a narcissist are virtually impossible. Now, I've known individuals who are very intelligent and who can carry on conversations as long as it remains on an intellectual kind of basis. There's some people that can just talk about all sorts of topics and do so in a very eloquent kind of way, but you'll notice that that's not the same as depth. They may have a breadth of information, but not a depth where they say, this is who I am, here's how I've arrived at my conclusions, and it goes back to that vulnerability. They don't want to make themselves known on that kind of an emotional level. Number 10, off-label indicator or identifier of narcissism is they have a lack of interest in what's going on in your life. You'll notice when you engage with narcissists, as you share certain things about them, very often they'll just immediately hijack the conversation and say something like, well, that reminds me of something about me. They tend not to ask truly interested follow-up questions, or they tend not to make what I call the next level type of comments. For example, I mean, something simple like, let's say you talk about and you have vacation plans. And rather than saying, so how did you decide on this place for a vacation? They may say, yeah, it's been a while since I've had a vacation. Here's where I want to go. They're not terribly curious about you and what's going on in your life. Number 11, they have a great deal of confusion about the nature of love. And this, we mentioned earlier about how they have a string of broken relations. They want you to make them feel special. And when that happens, okay, that means we love each other. Or they want you to conform to their standards. And again, that means we love each other. And they don't understand the whole concept of sacrifice and being tuned into one another. That part doesn't exist. They don't know the essence of love. And then finally, number 12, narcissists can turn against their own allies quickly and easily. Now, you can be thinking, I thought I had a pretty good thing going with that person. I remember one fella, he was talking about an individual he thought was a really good buddy of his, and they had a fallout, and they were in the grocery store. One of them was coming this way and the other was coming that way. The narcissist went straight by that person as if he didn't even exist. It's like, yeah, that's how it works. Once we're broken, then I don't even acknowledge your existence. That's how they are. Now, these are some indicators. When you look back on some of the classic ingredients of narcissism, it all fits right in. But you can see that this takes us to a little bit more of that subtle way of looking at it. Narcissists want you to feel confused about the nature of narcissism. Of course, they don't really see themselves that way anyway. They want you to have doubt. They want you to feel insecure about your ideas of what's going on in the relationship. But let's underscore, knowledge is power. And when we say knowledge, notice those first 4 words, know. And the more you know, the more you have an awareness of some of these off-label identifiers of narcissism, the more you can say, I am on to you. Your little tricks and schemes don't work with me. Maybe in the past they did, but the more you're able to cling to some good insight and awareness, then the more you're positioned to live into your healthiness, and you can separate yourself off from their lack of healthiness. Now, I do hope that videos such as this give you a good idea of what we're dealing with when we talk about that whole topic of narcissism. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to go beneath and hit that subscribe button. We'll keep more videos coming your way. And again, knowledge is power, and I want you to feel like you're being empowered with some good insights and awareness. If you have a need for counseling, and I know many of you have thought about this for a long time, I would encourage you to seek out someone in your area that could help you out as you try to make sense of your emotions and your relations with that person. If you don't have someone, then we have a sponsor that provides online counseling. We have a link below, and you can access it there. We also have my video workshop, Free to Be, and it's a very extensive course that allows you to go in and try to figure out who you are relative to the controllers in your life. We have our survivingnarcissism.tv, drlescarter.com, and other resources, books, etc. below. I want you to be a knowledgeable person, and in doing so, I'm hoping that you can be a person that says, I know who I am and where I'm going, and that being the case, it's going to hopefully lead you to a place of steadiness. And I also hope that you're going to be able to find your place of peace.